To feel envy is human, to savour schadenfreude is devilish. Nevertheless, let no one boast. Just as every man, though he be the greatest genius, has very definite limitations in some one sphere of knowledge, and thus attests his common origin with the essentially perverse and stupid mass of mankind, so also has every man something in his nature which is positively evil. Even the best, nay the noblest, character will sometimes surprise us by isolated traits of depravity, as though it were to acknowledge his kinship with the human race, in which villainy, nay, cruelty, is to be found in that degree. How shall a man be proud, when his conception is a crime, his birth a penalty, his life a labor, and death a necessity? No man becomes this or that by wishing to be it, however earnestly. Fundamental disposition towards others, assuming the character either of envy or of sympathy, is the point at which the moral virtues and vices of mankind first diverge. No animal ever torments another for the mere purpose of tormenting, but man does it, and it is this that constitutes the diabolical feature in his character which is so much worse than the merely animal. For what is our civilized world but a big masquerade, where you meet knights, priests, soldiers, men of learning, barristers, clergymen, philosophers, and I don't know what all. But they are not what they pretend to be, they are only masks, and, as a rule, behind the masks you will find moneymakers. Imitation and custom are the spring of almost all human action. The cause of it is that men fight shy of all and any sort of reflection, and very properly mistrust their own discernment. At the same time, this remarkably strong imitative instinct. Imitation and custom are the spring of almost all human action. The cause of it is that men fight shy of all and any sort of reflection, and very properly mistrust their own discernment. At the same time, this remarkably strong imitative instinct in man is a proof of his kinship with apes. Conscience accompanies every act with the comment, "You should act differently," although its true sense is, "You could be other than you are." Therefore, if egoism has a firm hold of a man and masters him, whether it be in the form of joy, or triumph, or lust, or hope, or frantic grief, or annoyance, or anger, or fear, or suspicion, or passion of any kind, he is in the devil's clutches, and how he got into them does not matter. What is needful is that he should make haste to get out of them, and here, again, it does not matter how. A man may begin by following the craving of desire, until he comes to see how hollow and unreal a thing is life, how deceitful are its pleasures, what horrible aspects it possesses, and this it is that makes people hermits, penitents, Magdalenes. The paltry character of most men compels the few who have any merit or genius to behave as though they did not know their own value, and consequently did not know other people's want of value, for it is only on this condition that the mob acquiesces in tolerating merit. A virtue has been made out of this necessity, and it is called modesty. The actual facts of morality are too much on my side for me to fear that my theory can ever be replaced or upset by any other. It seems to me that the idea of dignity can be applied only in an ironical sense to a being whose will is so sinful, whose intellect is so limited, whose body is so weak and perishable as man's. How shall a man be proud, when his conception is a crime, his birth a penalty, his life a labor, and death a necessity? the way to keep down hatred and contempt is certainly not to look for a man's alleged dignity, but, on the contrary, to regard him as an object of pity. Courage, however, may also be explained as a readiness to meet ills that threaten at the moment, in order to avoid greater ills that lie in the future, whereas cowardice does the contrary. The only freedom that exists is of a metaphysical character. In the physical world, freedom is an impossibility. Napoleon was not really worse than many, not to say most, men. He was possessed of the very ordinary egoism that seeks its welfare at the expense of others. What distinguished him was merely the greater power he had of satisfying his will, and greater intelligence, reason and courage, added to which, chance gave him a favorable scope for his operations. By means of all this he did for his egoism what 1,000 other men would like to do for theirs, but cannot. Every feeble lad who by little acts of villainy gains a small advantage for himself by putting others to some disadvantage, although it may be equally small, is just as bad as Napoleon. It is very necessary that a man should be apprised early in life that it is a masquerade in which he finds himself. In short, a large part of the powers of the human race is taken away from the production of what is necessary, in order to bring what is superfluous and unnecessary within the reach of a few. Life is only the mirror into which a man gazes, not in order that he may get a reflection of himself, but that he may come to understand himself by that reflection, that he may see what it is that the mirror shows. Every human perfection is allied to a defect into which it threatens to pass, but it is also true that every defect is allied to a perfection. Hence it is that if, as often happens, we make a mistake about a man, it is because at the beginning of our acquaintance with him we confound his defects with the kinds of perfection to which they are allied. The cautious man seems to us a coward, the economical man, a miser, the spendthrift seems liberal, the rude fellow, downright and sincere, the foolhardy person looks as if he were going to work with a noble self-confidence, and so on in many other cases.